So your loved one is undead. Greetings! We are your local undead community. We are assuming that if you're reading this, you have an undead loved one. If you yourself are undead and somehow missed our pamphlet, we are very sorry to have missed you. You can find our helpful introductory information here. Accepting your undead loved one. We know the information that your loved one is undead can be quite a shock. Believe us, it was a shock for us too. It can be just as confusing to find your loved one has been dug out of their grave as it is to wake up in your coffin after all. However, we implore you to not react suddenly and negatively towards your loved one's undead status. It's a completely natural phenomenon. Some people just become undead. It's okay. They are still the same person you've come to know and love. It's important to keep that in mind as you go forward with your undead loved one. While they may be a little different now, perhaps a little clumsier from the effects of rigor mortis or slightly discolored, they are still the same person you knew them as before. They're just undead, and that's okay. It may be scary at first to realize that the undead exist, let alone that your loved one is undead. So we're here to dispel some myths about the undead to help you be more at ease about what your loved one is going through. Myth number 1, your loved one is a mindless zombie craving for brains. While Hollywood has made a living off of portraying the undead as mindless, bloodthirsty zombies out for brains, we know now that this is not the case. Your loved one is completely sentient and has the same emotional and moral range that they had while they were alive. If your loved one was a good person in life, then they most likely will be a good person in unlife. While there might be some physical changes in their diet, physical appearance, and bodily functions, they still are the same person you know and love. Just because someone's elbow may bend the wrong way doesn't mean they're a monster. They also won't be craving for your brains in any Hollywood-like fashion. While your loved one will need a steady diet of organ meat to retain their health, they do not require human brains to live, nor will they become mindless monsters without them. Myth number 2, being undead is a choice. Unlike what you may have heard from your local pastor, being undead is not a choice. It is a natural phenomenon that has now been found in multiple species all over the world, and more are being found every day. The theory that the undead are undead because God and Satan have rejected them from heaven and hell is a biased and superstitious misbelief and has no scientific backing, while the theory that the state of undeadness is in some way genetic and can be triggered in certain specific situations, such as untimely, tragic, or intense death, has scientific backing and multiple studies backing that up. Let us make one thing very clear. Being undead is hard. Even without the prejudice and discrimination against the undead, there are still many things that make it tough to be undead. Your body goes through many changes, things may not work like they used to, and most likely you'll be having some type of existential crisis. On top of that, undead aren't treated with the same basic respect that is applied to the living, and the growing discontent regarding the undead is not a state of living someone will actively choose. No one wants to make their life or unlife any harder than it already is, which is why the idea that someone would choose to be undead is preposterous. Undeadness is simply a part of a person as much as them having red hair or brown eyes. Myth number 3, the undead cannot have relationships because they cannot feel. This one is the most harmful myth about the undead community. While many undead have different sensory experiences when it comes to stimuli that might have once caused physical pain or pleasure, the ability to feel emotions and form bonds via relationships is not affected in any way. While your undead loved one may be more sensitive to the heat or cold or lack feeling in certain areas of the body, they can still love you with their entire undead heart. Myth number 4, I cannot have intimacy with my undead loved one. There are many reasons why this myth is prevalent. Many might view the act as necrophilia and in some way immoral. Some may just be worried about the wear and tear body parts can have during intimacy. We'll try to abate these fears for you. Your undead loved one is completely sentient and aware as well as living their unlife. They are not an insentient corpse that can be taken advantage of. In fact, they may even be stronger now in their unlife than they were in their life, so it's likely that they would have an easier time fighting off someone who was trying to harm them. We, your local undead community, also have a local community of those with undead loved ones. Don't worry about where, we'll find you. We know where you are. You are invited and encouraged to attend, led by a couple of one living and one undead person. They are just the right people to initiate you into our community and help you integrate just as well as your undead loved one. Our numbers are growing and we are here to stay forever. And we hope you will too. Refreshments will be served. We will see you soon. Your local undead community.